Oh, there you are. Hi. I'm Peter James, and my business is called Manage My Mojo. And I want to tell you a little bit about how I started that business and how I came to that. For many years, I was a chef. I was working in kitchens and hotels and restaurants. And then I got into teaching cooking. And eventually, this was in Rhode Island. Eventually, I came down to Florida, and I was teaching cooking again and running a culinary school. But I was also training cooks in industry. And one of the first contracts we got down here back in the 90s was with a large cruise line, Carnival Cruise Lines, training the sous chefs. And we did this sous chef training, and the objective was to get them to be more productive in less time, because they had long contracts and they would be tired at the end of the contract. So how to be more productive but in less time. So I spent a little time on the ships and the galleys, and I saw how they worked, and I came up with some ideas to help them. Now, we then sent 20 of their sous chefs, came to the kitchens on land in North Miami at the campus, and for 3 weeks we put them through their paces. One of the things was that when the senior people came from the head office, they would get not scared, but they would become anxious, and they would change. Their personality would change. So I'd be working with them in the kitchen, and they'd all be working away professionally, and I thought they were very, very good chefs. And then people would come in from head office, and they would shrink 2 inches. So I discussed this with them when it happened. After it happened, they said, "Well, we get yelled at," and that's the way it was on the ships. It's very autocratic, maybe still a little bit that way now. And so I said, but you can't be good and productive if you're working from fear. So we have to get beyond that. So what we did was a whole bunch of training, role model training. So we put them in triads, and one was a yeller. They would yell and insult a person for 1 minute. One was a victim, so they got yelled at. And the other one was an observer, to observe the facial expressions of the person receiving the abuse, the yelling. After a minute, we'd go around each of the triads and report how they felt, how the yeller felt, how the receiver felt, and what the observer observed. And we did this every day for about an hour, for a couple of weeks. And what happens is the brain becomes so used to it after a while that people can yell and scream right close to your face, and you think nothing of it. Because it's used to it. It's like, hey, your brain's saying, hey, no harm is going to come from this. We've been through this before. We've done this time and time again. And so your whole approach, your whole demeanor changes from when you haven't gone through that role model training, where someone yelled and you didn't like it, and that was the only association you had, so you shrank and you say, yes, boss, no, boss, 3 bags full, boss. 2, oh, wait a minute, I see my boss is upset with me. Obviously, I've done something wrong. Let me see if I can fix that. And then we've got to get on and do the work and be as professional as we can. And so we did that with the cooks, and it was very, very successful. They sent another group of 20, and that worked really well. And then they wanted to do their managers. So we started training managers, about 700 every summer, going through similar courses, not just myself, but some other professors from the university. And that was very successful as well, showing people new ways to think, new techniques to use in communication, team building, performance review, all of those soft skills. At the same time, we were doing the similar training, or we developed a bunch of courses for training, for management training, for the cruise industry through the Marine Hotel Association. As time went on, and I was working with more and more of these people doing this management training, one of the things that I would do in all of my courses was find a way, a little peg, like a memory peg, that they could catch on to, because I know that at the end of any training, most people go back to work, or they go back to their original place where they came from, and they get a little bit of grief from the folks at work who didn't go to that training. So it's almost like a re-entry, if you will. And the people at the work would say, hey, you're not at the training now, get your feet back on the ground, and don't get so big-headed, or whatever else. Very seldom is it encouraged. And how you went away, show us what you learned. That doesn't happen so much. So I had to give them something that they could do. And what I came up with was the idea I'd heard about. Someone gave me an example of a cruise ship leaves a port, and if they just adjust 1 degree the steering, the course that they're on, it may not show over the first day, but as the days go by, the first day they're both here in 1 degree, but as the day goes by, you're getting further and further and further apart. So I said that 1 degree, if I can get people to do one thing every day, that's going to make a huge difference into their operations, their day-to-day work. And that's what I looked at. While doing that, and we still taught the main content of the course, whatever the course may be. While doing that, I also had feedback and kept in touch with a lot of the students. And the feedback that I got was that they remembered that one thing and how much it worked and how they shared it with others. And what many of them did, they took some of these techniques and applied them at home with their families, which for me was very rewarding. And I thought it was great for them as well. And I realized, I just want to help other people make a difference. I'd learned so much in my life. Let me share it and help other people make a difference. So while doing these management courses, for the university and working with outside companies, I then left the university and went out on my own doing consulting. Not something I particularly liked, but because many of the people that needed the consulting wouldn't follow any of the suggestions that they came up with, and so they'd end up in the same place. But I started myself and I put together a program. The program I put together is called Manage My Mojo. And this program looks at the way a person is in themselves and where they want to go and how they're going to get there. So it's like 3 steps. You could think of it, I suppose, like a GPS, a satellite, sat-nav, or whatever you may call it, where you are. And so if you use the GPS system, if I want to go to a meeting, or I want to take my wife to the theatre in the evening, I've not been to the theatre before, so I put it into my phone, a navigational system. It has to know where I am, exactly my address. It has to know where I want to go, exactly, the exact location. And then it works out a way for us to get there, taking into account traffic, hold-ups and tolls and roadworks and all of these sort of things. And what we do in the Manage My Mojo program, what it's doing is the first number of units are assessing exactly where you are in all areas of your life. So one of the things we do is we call it the staff of life. But it's like finding out, you're giving yourself a score from 1 to 10, finding out where you are with your family, with your career, with your finances, with your relationships, with your health, with your education, your personal development, your spirituality. And then just write a sentence or two to kind of establish where you are. And this helps people find out exactly where they are and how well they're doing and what they want to focus on. Now, why do we do this? The reason we do this is that most of us will gravitate to what we're most comfortable with, our comfort zone. Now, our comfort zone is a bit of a misnomer because it's not always the best thing for us, but it's the most comfortable. So we gravitate towards the comfort zone. So an example would be sometimes people at work till late at night, they come home and they've missed supper with their kids or dinner with their kids. The kids are tucked into bed already because they've been busy at the office and they're professional. They want to move on up in their career. They want to move on up the ladder. And so they'll do that. But if their priority is to be with their kids, they'll say they're doing it for their kids, but they're not with their kids. So we bring in there's a conflict of values there, you see, and we often believe our own rationalization. We believe our own BS. So another exercise we do is we prioritize values, take you through this assessment to find out exactly what are the most important values. And then once you establish and prioritize your values, you don't have to do one at the expense of the other, and you don't have to believe your own BS. There's a number of, I'm not going to go through all the assessments, but there's many we do. So at the end of it all, you have to write out some things and you find out this is who I am and this is where I am at the moment without trying to impress anybody or anything. This is it. So now we've got the first part of the navigation system, the GPS system, if you will. And this is our actual location. Now, where do we want to go? The next part of the training is to establish where you want to go in all of those areas of your life. You can design your life the way you want it to be. And we think this is the most natural thing in the world, but the reality is Most people, or many people, I don't want to say most, it's all anecdotal, not scientific per se, but many people are where they are through default. They had a connection, they got into a job, they didn't want to lose it, they had to pay the rent, so they suck it up and they work hard and they work long and they want to impress the boss so they can get to the next level, to get to the next job, and they only get 2 weeks vacation a year and they only get so many paid holidays a year, and so they suck it up and they go through it. Then they get the mortgage. Now they're more tied into that system. They can't break out, they can't do what they want to do, they can't live their dreams or be who they really wanted to be in the first place anyway, because otherwise they lose their income, then they're going to not be able to pay their mortgage and so on and so forth. So we find out exactly where is it a person wants to be. Nothing else. What is the stuff that turns you on? What is the stuff that floats your boat in all areas of your life? You can design who you want to be as a father, as a mother, as a brother, as a sister, as a son, as a daughter, as a professional, as a nurse, as a doctor, and a lawyer. What kind of a lawyer do you want to be? What kind of a nurse do you want to be? Have you taken the time to design the outline for that person? Because if you haven't, you're pretty much living into it by default, aren't you? So we take the time to design exactly who you want to be in all areas of your life. Then what we do is we prioritize, and then what we do is we put a plan together, a step-by-step plan that you can follow on a daily basis. So when you get up in the morning, you're doing what you want to do to get to where you want to go, and you know exactly what you want to do. Many people, especially small business owners, entrepreneurs, people in network marketing, people in multi-level marketing, people in sales, they'll often go out there and they procrastinate for a number of reasons, and one of them is they either don't know what to do next or they don't like what they have to do next, and so they tend to prevaricate, they tend to procrastinate, they tend to not do what needs to be done. At the end of Manage My Mojo, you know what needs to be done because you chose it, you've sorted it out, you put the step-by-step in place, the blueprint, the roadmap if you will, and all you have to do is get up in the morning and follow that. And we'll show you how to get an accountability partner to work with and how to do that so that you can be held accountable. You hold someone else accountable to move to where you want to go and get there. And then you start doing it again and planning for the next step beyond achieving that goal. And so that's in a nutshell the Manage My Mojo program. You can download it on managemymojo.com. And you can download it and get started as soon as you wish. Also, I do work with some clients, but not many, because my time is precious for me, and I've made that important to be with my family and to do my traveling. My family's spread out all over the place. So I do take some clients, and you can inquire at the time, and if I have a gap, then you can fulfill. Then we'll certainly work together and see if that's a comparison. I don't work with everybody. I only work with people who are going to do what they say they're going to do, because I want success. I don't want to waste my time or their time, and I would like success for us both. So there you have it. Manage My Mojo. I'm Peter James, and I hope this was an enlightening thing for you. And I always leave you with 3 things. Be the best you can be, smile as often as you can, and treat other people the way you like to be treated. Take care now.